Hi, Gary Cox here, and welcome to another episode of Mic Drop Insights and Lessons from CI Thought Leaders. In this program, I sit down with industry experts and those who are deploying organizational excellence and continuous improvement inside their companies. They share their experience and their expertise with me. I have the privilege of sharing that with you. Today's episode is episode 3 with Troy Lenihan, the Senior Director of Business Operations at Eden Valley Poultry in the Valley of Nova Scotia, in a town called Berwick. And he shares his experience in, first of all, I love he uses this terminology, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And you're going to hear him talk about that a couple times throughout this video. The other thing he talks about is the need for predictability in leadership and how that plays an important role in developing the culture that he wants at Eden Valley Poultry. And then he talks about 3 things that any new leader or any new continuous improvement practitioner will want to know and understand. And you're certainly going to want to hear what he has to say there. And finally, I asked the question of Troy, what was his favorite influential book on his career? You're going to want to hear what he has to say that. Let's pick up the conversation.
Well, and predictability is one thing I always preach, as you know, and always thinking about the outputs and the inputs and what we're doing. So I guess if I'm going to give that message, it's important that I myself am predictable. So you always know what you're going to get when you come to my office. It doesn't matter which side it's on. Leadership is easy when things are going well. Leadership is tough when things aren't. So I don't ever want people to feel that. I want to be always consistent in my approach, because the opportunities to improve are always there, whether it's good or bad. And I think for someone like me at my level as a business leader, if I get stuck, if I have a bad day, if I start showing that negativity, I'm the person they're looking to help guide them and coach and mentor them through. So it's important for me that I stay consistent and predictable in how I lead and how I operate, because if I look rattled, that's a problem, right? Because people are always looking for someone to lead them through, and for my team, I'm that person. So it's important for me that I don't get rattled. I stay consistent to the tools. I stay consistent to my beliefs, to my values and the culture, because I believe in the tools. And I know that whether it's really easy, low-hanging fruit, or a really tough problem to solve, if I stay disciplined to my values, to my thought process, and to the tools, they've never let me down. And I continue to deliver just good results. So I guess from my learning over 25 years, that's what I do. I try and be a steady Eddie. And if I can do that, I will bring the team through it, and we will have success. And sometimes it's bumpier than others, but that's the fun of it. That's where you learn. You really get comfortable being uncomfortable, challenge yourself. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And if I'm going to do that to other people, then I need to do it to myself. So.
So let's circle back a little bit to the whole networking, and you've established a network with Canadian manufacturers and exporters, the Institute of Operational Excellence. You've developed a bit of a network there. What advice do you give to somebody who is, you and I are both kind of outgoing type personalities, and we're not afraid to kind of do that instead of putting ourselves out there. What do you say to somebody who's not like in that kind of, what advice would you give somebody who's new to kind of reaching out and building a network?
Yeah, I think you need to challenge yourself and get comfortable being uncomfortable. It might be awkward or weird or not feel like you're in that environment, but again, challenge yourself, put yourself out there and experience it, because there's wins there. And I guess one thing for me is know yourself as a person. Okay. So if you're not comfortable in a situation, well, ask why. Why would I not want to put myself in an environment to learn and grow and support our business and meet people and make my company better or provide opportunities for the company? So, I'm a big self-awareness guy, and I think people need to be self-aware, especially as a business leader. Know what makes you tick. If you don't like that, I'm an introvert by trait. I'm an ISTJ. You might not know that when you see me out and around. And that's not because I'm not social. I love it, but how I regain energy. So I think self-awareness, whether you're doing your Myers-Briggs or Keirsey's or Colby's or whatever report you want to do, I think self-awareness becomes critical for that. And knowing that, okay, if I don't want to be in that situation, why? And if I'm doing my awareness and I go, okay, that's something, but then be intentional about it. and put yourself there to grow, and then it becomes more natural,
Mm,
right? And it gets less uncomfortable, and you will see the wins of it. Because if we stay in our own walls and we don't network and engage, we're restricting our growth as professionals, in my opinion, and our ability. We're missing gifts from other companies. I'm just going to keep going with that one. We're going to miss opportunities and gifts that other people experience to learn from, and then
and we
you
do.
just get stuck in the walls of your own business. And
I think you basically rob yourself of the opportunity to grow
mm,
when you're not willing to put yourself into a position where you meet others that are in the CI mindset and the CI industry. Totally agree with that. I also like to kind of challenge some folks to say that most of us that are in the CI world that love continuous improvement and are passionate about continuous improvement, we want to share what we know and what we have. So I think if you're in a position where you're a bit of an introvert, right? Know that the risk of talking to somebody who's passionate about continuous improvement is a lot less than just simply walking into an empty conference room and trying to network with somebody to drive business. If you That's why these lean conferences and these continuous improvement conferences and are such a great fodder, great ground for building those networks. Would you
absolutely,
agree?
I agree 100%. I mean, to your point, like after our first one, how many contacts and different engagements have I had? Whether that's through now being in the IOE, meeting people at LeanCon, but also just, connected. Now I'm part of Manufacturing Masters as an example. So,
Mm,
all those streams come in, and then people, oh, okay. So, you're getting your name out there, you're learning from people, and then they know people, and it's like, oh, well, what about this person? And all of a sudden they're connecting you to people. So you just branch out
mm.
to this network of like-minded individuals, and it's fantastic. And I mean, I've grown so much as a professional just through these events to
Yeah,
understand what's possible.
yeah.
And then you take that back to your business. So, because in your own business all the time, it's easy, whether it's your own plant, your own line, we get wired in process, right? Like
Mm,
we're humans. So we get into routine and the dailies. Okay, I do this every day. And all of a sudden you're not even seeing outside of your own lane downstairs. So don't, don't be staying in your own company. Get out and experience it and see what is possible. Because I have never gone to another plant or a tour or a manufacturer somewhere and not took something away. There's
mm.
always something you'll see. And just as much, I encourage different eyes because there's always something that can hold me to a standard to say, well, I don't want to get wired either. So, that's one thing in orientation that when we talk to our folks, I encourage them. You are a fresh set of eyes. Don't come and be shy to ask questions. I want your questions because you see it
Mm.
differently. You're going to ask something that, oh yeah, that really didn't make any sense. Why are we doing that? So a fresh set of eyes is super valuable. So again, if you're connecting with people and you're going to a tour, they're coming here. So, it can go both ways, and I think that's really valuable.
And in the community, right? So, you talk again, we talk about you being a soccer coach and in the community, right? Taking your skill set into other environments, as you said, is also a way to grow, but it's also a way to build your network. So again, if you're out there and you're looking to say, how do I grow as a CI practitioner? One of the neatest ways to do that is when if you're volunteering for a group or any, take your skills to that group and
Hmm.
apply those tools in a setting that's not the setting that you are at work.
Yeah, that's huge because most people would say you practice continuous improvement because you're in manufacturing. Not not the case. I mean, I've slowly trained people within the soccer community on process improve, just take things differently. And it could be really, just about organizing a tournament or anything like that. There's all these things that you can do. And I've introduced our team managers and our players to that. You know, my wife, even though she was a resistor, just has all these nice little practices at home. And, you know, uh, inventory now on when things go in and out of the freezer, right? Well, 5S, now she's saying the language, 5S in the closet. So it just filters into your life and into what you do. And, I think that's pretty cool because it's a validation of what you're doing and learning is adding value and moving the needle on things you want to improve.
I do want to give you the opportunity. First of all, something I haven't asked any of the other guests, but I'm going to start from this point forward. What was the most influential book that you read that was around your CI journey? That's question number one. So I'll stop there.
I think the first book I ever read that helped me, which wasn't directly related to continuous improvement, but it was when I started my leadership journey, I was around a lot of senior leaders, and they had, I would just call it an old school type of leadership. I thought differently. Right out of the gate, I'm engaging people. And I used to get questioned on that. And I read a nice book. It's called The Likability Factor, and it was by Tim Sanders. And it was really goes back to what I talked about. Down with negativity and framing everything productively. And in a just a really positive mindset. And that was really the kickoff of my career. And from there, I just kept engaging in different leadership books. That was the biggest book that kicked off my journey, and I still remember that book. I still have a copy, and
that's great.
Yeah,
that's good.
So it wasn't a real Six Sigma book at that point, but it changed my mindset to learn the tools and to apply them.
I'm glad I asked the question. I'm glad I asked the question. Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to start asking that question of all my visitors, guests that come on the program. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is if you had to give 3 pieces of advice to any new Lean Six Sigma or continuous improvement practitioner or somebody who's wanting to go down that path, what are the 3 things of advice you would give
them? Well, first of all, make sure you have good support within your organization, right? Senior leader support is critical, but most of us know that. Make sure you have good support structure in your business. I would say don't always overcomplicate it. Make sure you're listening to your people, engage the front line, engage the right teams. It's more of a mindset because you need to appreciate that not everybody's a Six Sigma black belt like us. So you have to find ways to connect to people. Right. So not, you're going to train all the passion people, but you're going to expect everybody to do something different. So find ways on how you can do that. Right. So if you're going to do a process mapping, can you give them some details on what a process map is? And they can help do that. So find ways to connect the tools to what the people are doing and focus on strong leadership and culture. Because I'm a big firm believer that any process change will not stay if you don't have a good change management plan and effective leadership to manage process and change, which is one of the reasons why I love coaching and mentoring. And we still build off the program that you and I developed, and that still goes down to new supervisors, and I still coach them on those tools, and we use the same material we did back then because, well, we have business leaders that took that training, and we want to be consistent, and we want them to have the same tools, and we see the benefits. So, yeah, know your people, train your people, and you'll have good results.
I mean, the core principles just don't change. They're solid. They're core principles for a reason. And so if you've got material around the core principles, it shouldn't get dated over time, really, right? So,
and like I said, if you know your people, here's the tools, here's the goal. Some need this way, some need this way, some need this way. So yeah. And it's our job to guide them there for sure.
Terrific. All right, we've been chatting here for a little while, so let's sign off, and what we'll do is we'll have you back for another program. I'm really
happy. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Gary. Appreciate the time to talk and be on your channel.